Some threats don't make the news, not because they aren't dangerous, but because the people who deal with them don't leave paper trails. His name's not in any database. No social security number, no family, no rank, no medals, just a file marked for emergency use only. And last week he was sent to Drift, Kentucky. Drift, Kentucky.
Population barely 70. The kind of town the government forgets, unless something wants to be found.
For 2 weeks now, a cattle farmer has been reporting something stalking his land, something that moves without sound, something that watches.
The local sheriff has visited the property multiple times, doesn't know what to make of it except dead, mutilated cattle. He has chalked it up to wolves, but the farmer insists it's not. No tracks, no howls at night. And for multiple full-size cows to be taken down over several nights, it would be an immense pack. There would be tracks, bedding down locations, and of course howls at night. There's been none of that. All that has been put into the sheriff's report and filed, which has made it up the chain to people that officially do not exist. A black SUV drives down a cracked country road swallowed by thick Kentucky woodland. The sun is low, casting long shadows across cornfields and fog-covered hills. An old farmhouse sits at the edge of the woods, rusted tools on the porch, a barbed wire fence broken in places. The barn looms behind it, paint peeling. Silas Reed steps out of the SUV, early 40s, gaunt face, military posture, black duffel slung over one shoulder. His eyes scan the tree line first, not the house, slowly and methodically, like he is burning every tree and bush into memory. Silas Reed doesn't ask questions. He doesn't take notes. He watches. He listens. He prepares. Farmer John Redding steps out onto the porch. Late 60s, hard-weathered. A shotgun leans against the railing. "You with the sheriff?" Silas replies dryly. "No." "You EPA? USDA? Got no badge." "I was sent to deal with it. Show me the fields." A foggy pasture with distant tree lines. A dead cow lies in the grass, body bloated, entrails neatly removed. No blood, just emptiness. Silas kneels by the carcass, pulls out a black UV flashlight. Under the beam, faint bioluminescent smears glow in a claw pattern. Not human, not animal. No signs of struggle, no tire tracks, no footprints, but the organs were taken clean, and something was dragged back into the woods. Silas notices every bird has gone silent, even the bugs. John, quietly, it waits in the trees, just stands there some nights. Don't move, don't blink. When I look too long, I get this buzzing in my teeth, like it don't want me seeing it. Silas doesn't respond. He just stares into the trees. Silas then looks at the barn. How full is that? Able to work out of? John nods and they start to walk towards the barn. Silas opens the swinging barn doors. Dust motes float through slatted sunlight. The scent of old hay and engine grease hangs thick in the air. Silas kneels before an open military-grade field case, foam-lined and meticulously organized. Item by item, he begins laying out the tools of his trade. A custom-built battle rifle, matte black, suppressed, equipped with a thermoscope and underbarrel attachment. The serial number has been scratched off. A sidearm, an old-school M1911, worn but oiled clean, etched with faint symbols just behind the grip. A helmet, carbon fiber plated with a mounted 4-lens night vision goggle array, not military issue, modified. A compact drone with infrared capabilities sits beside a tablet loaded with encrypted field software. He moves slower as he lifts something else out of the case. A small, ornate silver flask, old and heavy, engraved with interlocking crosses and strange text, not Latin, something older. He unscrews the cap. Inside, holy water with a sharp metallic scent. He lines up 4 smaller vials of the water and places them in slots on a tactical belt. Next to them, a roll of iron nails, sharpened, red wax-sealed wax paper pouches of blessed salt, a folded cloth sigil wrapped around a black candle stub, a jagged piece of obsidian glass wrapped in cord, worn like a pendant under his shirt. He unfolds his field journal. It's handwritten, pages filled with sketches and entries like C7 manifestations, Appalachia sightings, third confirmed silent type, symptoms, livestock mutilation, tree sigils, no EMF distortion, avoid gaze, eyes act as trigger. He draws a quick symbol in chalk on the barn floor, a protective glyph from the journal, and places a flare and motion alarm at each corner. Outside, the wind picks up. Leaves rustle unnaturally. John, who is still standing the threshold of the barn watching Silas unpack. "You some kind of priest?" Silas doesn't look up. "No." "Then what the hell are you?" Silas finishes drawing a circle around the chalk sigil and mutters something under his breath, then finally meets John's eyes. "A closer." He doesn't pray. He doesn't hope. He just makes sure the door stays shut, even if it costs him everything. "It's getting close to dusk. I need you to stay inside your house. Make sure you are armed at all times. But whatever you hear, you are not to leave your house while it is dark out. Do you understand?" John gulps, then nods his head. Midnight. Moonlight filters through the tree canopy. Crickets go silent. Inside the barn, Silas sits in the dark. No flashlight. Just a loaded sidearm and an open notebook in his lap. Suddenly a chime. Motion detector tripped. Silas tenses. Outside? Clicking. Wet and organic, like bone on glass. It stood just beyond the tree line. Watching. Not hiding. It wanted him to know. It was there. A cow bellows in the field. A snap, then silence. Silas bolts out of the barn with the flare gun, fires. A red burst lights up the trees, and for a split second, something huge darts between the trunks. Unnatural, long-limbed, skin like wet bark. John, who has been sitting on his porch with his shotgun across his lap. "What in God's name was that?" Silas doesn't answer. He walks slowly into the dark, toward the trees. But it's gone. He scans slowly with both his thermal and night vision, and just forest. It just wanted to toy with him tonight, it seems. Whatever's in the forest near Drift isn't hunting for food. It's hunting for something else. And Silas Reed isn't sure this time if he's the predator or the prey. All he can do is prepare for the next night and the next opportunity. The next evening, the barn is dark. No lights, no sound except for the occasional creak of wood and distant animal cries. Silas sits alone, fully geared, rifle across his lap, night vision ready, every muscle still. Some monsters don't announce themselves with howls or screams. They come with silence, with waiting, with knowing you're being watched. Outside, the motion sensor clicks on, a soft beep. Silas glances at the display, Zone 3, northern fence. He doesn't move yet. A low clicking starts, not mechanical, not human, like bone tapping against wood. Then static bursts in his earpiece, a sharp, high-pitched tone like pressure in your skull. He puts on the night vision goggles and moves outside, stepping into the cool black pasture. Dense forest. Green-filtered night vision imagery, steam rising faintly from disturbed earth. Silas moves slowly, boots silent on the damp grass. And he sees it, a tall, humanoid shape just beyond the trees. Still. Wrong. Too tall, too narrow. No visible face, limbs just a little too long. When it moves, it doesn't walk, it shifts like frames skipping in a film reel. He lifts his rifle. The thermal scope flares, but the thing gives off no heat, no blood, no breath. It wasn't alive, at least not in a way that belonged here. It turns its head slightly toward him, and his goggles short out, flooding with static. A burning noise rises in his ears. Silas rips them off and drops to one knee. Suddenly, gunfire explodes from behind him. It's the farmer. "Behind you!" Silas spins around. A second creature had moved silently up on him. Same build, slightly smaller. It leaps back into the forest, impossibly fast. He spins back around and nothing. The original entity is gone. Silas looks at the farmer. They don't speak. Just a slight nod and they walk back to the farmhouse. They walk into the house and Silas heads towards the kitchen. Old wallpaper, flickering light bulb. Silas is rinsing a burn on his neck. No cut, just a strange reddened spiral like frostbite. John, with shaking hands, is pouring whiskey into a glass. "There's more than one. I know it now." Silas quietly flips open his journal and begins sketching the creature. The outline is crude but somehow disturbing. Silas mutters to himself. Too fast. Doesn't show on thermal. Distorts electronics. Draws static. He pulls out the silver flask and downs a mouthful of holy water. Not because he's religious, but for ritual protection. A habit. A field test. He'd faced things that whispered in Latin. Things that only bled in moonlight. But this wasn't just a creature. It was part of the place now. A spiritual infection with form. He holds the obsidian pendant to the wound on his neck. The spiral mark sizzles faintly, then fades. Early morning light filters through a pale mist. The forest seems too still. No bird calls, no rustle of movement. Just the faint whisper of wind brushing through dying leaves. Silas walks slowly, rifle slung across his chest, helmet on, night vision flipped up. His breath fogs slightly, even though it's warm. The air feels off, like walking into a room just after something died. He follows the trail, not made by footsteps, but a subtle pattern of disruptions in nature. Trees with bark peeled off in vertical strips, moss curling away from the trunks, small mounds of dirt where there shouldn't be any. Each disruption is spaced evenly, almost mathematically, ritualistic. This wasn't a trail left by prey or predator. It was intentional. A marking, a guide, a ritual pathway laid out in a geometry not meant for human minds. He stops at a cluster of saplings. Every branch on the eastern-facing side is bent exactly 90 degrees, pointing inward, like a corridor made of wood and silence. He steps through. A large circular clearing in the forest, unnatural in its symmetry. No grass grows here, just packed dirt, bone fragments, and a sickly green haze hanging in the light. At the center stands a stone structure, waist-high, eroded by time, but clearly unnatural. The stone is a dark, smooth basalt, unlike anything found in this part of Kentucky. Carved into the surface, symbols, spirals that knot back into themselves, jagged lines forming a star that doesn't point anywhere. Long vertical gashes like tally marks, but too many to count without getting a headache. Silas runs a gloved hand over the markings. They feel warm. His breath catches. The clearing is colder than before. He glances down at his boots. The earth around the stone is dry and cracked, but he hears water. Looking closer, he realizes the cracks form a spiral pattern, just like the mark that burned into his neck. He steps back instinctively. Scattered around the stone structure are bones, carefully placed. Dozens, maybe hundreds. He kneels down to inspect them. Some are clearly animal. Deer femurs, cattle jawbones, raccoon skulls. But some are wrong. Too long. Joints in the wrong places. Skull plates fused shut like a child's, but too large.
They're all arranged in perfect concentric circles, outward from the stone like ripples in a pond. This wasn't a kill site. It was an altar, the sacred space for something that understood death not as an end, but a key. He hears something behind him, a breath, a scrape, but when he turns, there's nothing there, just trees. He pulls a small paper packet of blessed salt from his pouch, tears it open, and sprinkles it into the spiral. At first, nothing. Then the earth trembles, just slightly. A vibration, more than a shake, felt in the bones and teeth. The temperature drops 10 degrees instantly. A sound emerges, not from the forest, but from inside the stone, a hollow thumping like a slow heartbeat. And above him, the sky seems off. The clouds twist without moving, the sun dims just slightly for no reason at all. Silas steps back a few spaces and takes a knee. He then starts to unsling his backpack and opens it up and withdraws a small black case. Inside, a drone is nestled. Silas activates the drone. It lifts silently over the clearing, scanning in infrared and ultraviolet. He watches the feed on his forearm screen. Infrared, nothing. Ultraviolet, a flash. Something tall and branching, moving through the trees just outside the clearing's edge, too fast to follow. Then more. Dozens. Not walking, not even running, just shifting, moving in and out of frame like light through water. They aren't attacking. They're watching, guarding. Silas backs away, leaving a flare behind on the stone. He doesn't ignite it, just places it. A marker, a warning. This wasn't the first nest, but it might be the oldest, and something was using it again. As he exits the clearing, he notices one last thing. On the back of a tree, hidden from the clearing's center, a carving. The spiral again, but this time with a second mark overlapping it. A crown. Whatever ruled this place had not yet arrived, but its servants were already here, preparing the land. And if Silas didn't stop it in time, this little farm town in Kentucky would become a door. He heads back towards the farm. Once in the field, he can see John on his porch, bent over as if inspecting something. The farmer found something on his porch, a dead calf, left neatly upright, legs folded underneath, eyes missing. On the wall above it, scratched deep into the wood, "She's coming." Silas stares at the message. There's a queen. A what? Everything out here. It's clearing a path. This is preparation. It's a prelude. This wasn't a random breach. Something deeper was waking up beneath the soil, and these things were just the harbingers. There are levels to infestation. Some things crawl through cracks. Others open doors. The trees were watching now, listening, and whatever lived behind them was almost ready to come through. Silas sits alone inside the barn. It's mid-afternoon. The drone screen is powered off. The rifle is being cleaned slowly, methodically. Everything is quiet except the slow hum of insects returning to life. He reaches into a side pouch and removes a black government-issued satellite phone, unbranded except for a fingerprint reader. He presses his thumb to the pad. The device beeps. Reed, reporting from Drift. Local livestock mutilations confirmed. 2 separate entities engaged. Bipedal. Camouflage properties. No thermal signature. Limited intelligence. Ritual markers confirmed. Pause. Found a potential nest site in Sector C. Clear spiral markings, fossilized structure, alter behavior. Something's coming through. Might be a Class 4 event. Another pause. Recommend escalation if I don't report in next cycle. Might need a clean team. Biohazard. Containment specialists. Psych ops. This is not local. This is old. Will attempt engagement tonight. Will confirm viability of closure by morning. He ends the call, places the phone in a lead-lined pouch. Then he picks up the flask of holy water, removes the lid, and dips a finger in, marking a cross on his chest, silently. No backup, no cavalry, no rescue. If it came through and he failed to stop it, there'd be nothing left to contain. The perimeter of the woods, Silas is setting charges, fire line markers, small thermite-based flare pods rigged to create a controlled forest burn if triggered. He plants one every 20 feet, just beyond the ritual clearing, forming a ring around the nest. Each pod is marked with a chalk sigil, an old protective rune adapted for modern use. Circle of flame, salt to bind, smoke to blind, he mutters to himself. He pulls the obsidian pendant from under his shirt, tightens it in his grip. He wasn't just preparing to kill it. He was preparing to seal it in. As day gives way to night, Silas once again settles into the barn, in a resting, ready position. Midnight, dense fog. The woods pulse with unnatural sound, clicks, groans, and whispers echoing through the dark like 1,000 voices just out of sync. Silas moves outside of the barn, standing in the clearing, rifle raised. Motion sensors ping softly in his ear. Then, they arrive. Not one, not two, a dozen of them. Tall, thin-limbed things emerging from the tree line like moving saplings, skin the texture of wet bark, faces a blank knot of scarred tissue and flickering light. Their movement is silent, except when they click, and when they do, the trees respond, shaking gently without wind. He doesn't hesitate. Silas opens fire. Crack! 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 Rifle rounds snap through the clearing. One creature drops instantly, burning from the inside as silver-coated rounds pierce its chest. Another charges, faster than it should be able to move. Silas ducks, fires again. 3 more rounds punch through its abdomen, but it keeps coming. He rolls to the side and slams the butt of the rifle into its leg, knocking it off balance. As it falls, he plunges a silver nail straight into its spine. Hiss! It screams in static and evaporates. He empties the last few rounds in the rifle at close range, dropping 2 more, but then, click, out. More coming now, too many. He ejects the mag, tosses the rifle aside, and draws the M1911 from his hip holster. It wasn't just a weapon. It was the last thing he trusted. Flash, bang, flash. The pistol roars as he backs into a defensive circle, dropping more of the beasts. They scream as holy water rounds tear through them, sizzling on contact. One gets close, too close. It grabs his arm. Claws sink into flesh, but Silas drives a salt vial into its mouth and punches it shut. The vial bursts. The creature howls and implodes, leaving only smoke. Some died like animals. Others like ideas unraveling. They surround him. 6, 7, 8 remain. They circle, clicking in unison now, forming a perimeter like sentient wolves. Then everything goes still. The fire dims. The air becomes heavy like it's folding in on itself. And from the stone at the center of the clearing, the queen begins to rise. The ground splits. Roots uncoil. Stone bleeds black ichor. And from the center, the ring of assailants round him are disappearing, like falling apart into sand, and the sand is flowing towards the middle, coalescing. A massive figure begins to rise, as if pulled up by invisible strings. 10 feet tall, hunched, swathed in tangled flesh and bone. Parts of its body like a mass of limbs not yet finished forming. Its face is an inverted spiral, 3 black orbs that rotate inward like eyes orbiting a center that never stays still. And it stares directly at him. He freezes. He can't help it. The world tilts as if gravity itself is being pulled into her gaze. Whispers flood his head. A woman's voice, endless, layered. And somewhere in it, his own mother's voice, twisted and repeated. You were always meant to open the door. He drops to his knees, nose bleeding, vision tunneling.
In one final motion, Silas rips the pendant off, slams it against the ground, and ignites the thermite fire line. A ring of white-hot fire explodes around the clearing. The trees catch. The air shrieks. The creatures scream in unnatural tones like audio run backward through a broken speaker. The queen flails in the fire, her form flickering between flesh, shadow, and geometry that shouldn't exist. Silas stumbles backward through the flames, holy water burning into his vest as the heat rises. He collapses at the edge of the field, eyes blurred, chest heaving. The last thing he sees before passing out? The queen, screaming, not in pain, but in warning, and then she vanishes in a burst of ash and flickering light.
It wasn't a victory. It was a delay, a closed gate, not a locked one. Dawn breaks. Smoke rises from the tree line. Charred bodies litter the ground, some still twitching. Silas sits at the base of a tree, gear scorched, fingers burnt, eyes open. He pulls out the phone, dialing. Bleeding from the temple. Target neutralized. Site unstable. Cleanup required. Burn it all. No survivors. And don't send another team. If she left a mark, it's already too late. Early dawn. The woods are silent, smoldering. Mist clings to the blackened trees. Ash floats in the air like dead snow. Silas limps through the clearing. His helmet hangs loose, night vision cracked. One arm is bandaged. His sidearm still dangles in his hand, grip blood-slick. He glances down at what remains of the altar, now a melted, glassy pit. Nothing in it. No queen, just scorched earth. Behind him, the helicopters descend, 3 unmarked black helos, quiet rotors. Armed response teams in biohazard gear jump out with brutal efficiency. They begin combing the area. Geiger counters click softly. Shane missed the tree line. Body bags, dozens, are zipped. Some human, most not. A civilian containment officer, white-suited and faceless under a mirrored helmet, walks up to Silas. Command says your report was incomplete. I was bleeding out. We counted 31 bodies, 7 partial entities, 13 exposed civilians. 5 are dead.
What about the structure?
Whatever that altar was, there's nothing left but slag. The tree line's been marked anomalous. Your obsidian pendant cracked. Silas holds up the 2 halves of the obsidian shard on a broken cord. He pockets them. You think this site is sealed? Silas stares at the woods, listens. Nothing. Sealed for now. You can kill what crawls, but what waits, you only bury deeper. Daylight. The farmhouse is barely standing. Its porch is half gone, scorched. Glass crunches under Silas's boots as he enters. John Redding sits at the table, leg in a brace, arm in a sling. A cigarette trembles between his fingers. His face looks older now, decades older. I saw her, the tall one. Looked like my wife. That's what it does. You see what hurts the most. Is it over? Silas doesn't answer, just stares out the window at the tree line. Burned, but still standing. They said someone would come by. Government rep. Don't talk to them. I won't, John says quietly. Silas pulls a small slip of paper from his coat, sets it on the table. Bank account number, Cayman Islands. Already paid out. Buy land somewhere else, west of the Mississippi. Don't look back. John stares at the numbers, then at Silas. You ain't what I expected. No one ever is. Night. Silas sits alone in a rented motel room, pale green walls, a single buzzing lamp. He takes out his encrypted government-issued phone. Dials. Read. Status. Site neutralized. Unknown entity partially manifested. Structure destroyed. 24 civilian casualties. Farm's a loss. Recommend full sweep? Maybe. Depends on the follow-up. If any survivors exhibit dreamwalking or audio bleed, you'll need to carpet bomb the ridge.
Understood. Back up. Silas wipes a smear of blood from his neck. No, not yet. I'll monitor one more night. We'll expect a confirmation transmission at 0900 tomorrow. If not, Silas ends the call without waiting. He sets the phone down, looks in the mirror. For a second, his reflection doesn't move. Another town, weeks later. A small girl skips rope in an alley behind a church. She hums a tune under her breath, soft, in a language not quite human. Behind her, on the brick wall, a spiral carved in chalk. The mother walks past, startled. Where'd you learn that? The girl beams at her mother. From the whispering lady in the trees. There are men like Silas Reed, trained, armed, and broken in just the right way to kill things most people pretend don't exist. But some things aren't meant to die. They sleep, they dream, and they wait. If you made it this far, you're one of the rare few who know how deep the dark really goes. This channel is just getting started, so if this story hit you, if it stuck with you, even a little, hit that like button, subscribe to stay with us. We're only going deeper from here. Your support means the world, and it helps bring more of these nightmares into the light. More stories are coming. We'll be waiting.